What is up, guys? It is MurderInc. We are on the test server and we are talking about a crazy strong progression champion. Didn't think I'd see something like this. This is very intuitive from Plarium to release a champion like this. So let's start talking about Noct the Paralyzer. This is an HP based legendary champion from the Dark Elves faction, and boy does this guy have a kit. So let's dive straight into it. The A1 attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing decreased accuracy. Who cares, right? This is where it gets interesting. Dreamer's Demise attacks all enemies, has a 75 up to 100% chance once fully booked of placing a sleep debuff, and 2 5% poisons. And I might be thinking, why would you have poisons with a sleep buff? Aren't you going to wake the champion up? Get a little of this passive effect. Places 2 additional 5% poison debuffs for 2 turns whenever a sleep debuff placed by this skill is removed or disappears after an enemy takes damage. So for the first time since I've seen sleep in this game, which was since release, they're giving a very strong benefit to breaking that sleep debuff. This is hands down been the biggest complaint about this debuff altogether as far as CC goes. What happens if your champion gets a turn and you have to use an AoE ability because it's part of the champion's kit that you have the synergy with that's paired with whoever's applying the sleep? You're kind of screwed, right? You kind of just wasted the viability of that sleep debuff because you have someone that has to use an AoE. Now you're getting something back from it, which is 2 5% poisons, which then becomes per target because this is an AoE ability. If this were single target, I would say kind of cool, but not good enough. This is definitely good enough. And on top of it, this champion scales off of HP, the best survivability stat in the entire game here. But it gets better. Let's have a look at what the A3 does. Ally protection buff and continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. This is really strong because it's not offering a straight, damage reduction mitigation with the ally protection debuff. You're going to take full damage with all of the protected allies, but you heal them up after, which the other ally protection champions simply don't do that. So now you can focus on building this champion to be able to survive. You get a little bit of extra damage. I don't think damage is going to be kind of a factor here, but it allows you to stack HP, a proper amount of defense, and it provides you with a heal for all of your other champions. This is going to be a 3-turn cooldown if you do fully book this, so it's a very short cooldown for sure. Moving on to the passive, heals this champion by 3% of their max HP, and all allies except this champion by 1% of this champion's max HP every time a poison debuff ticks on an enemy. What? Talk about an AoE healer, right? Now the percentages are rather low, but it's based on HP, and this is an HP based champion. So now on top of that, we have this second part of the passive. Whenever an ally is attacked while under an ally protection buff, has a 40% chance of placing a sleep debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. And then what happens if you break that sleep with damage? Hello, even more poison. So this is probably one of the best progression champions I've ever seen up to right now. This kit is so strong, it has so much potential, and it screams early game, mid game, late game for progression. This is one of the few kits where I can't really pick apart anything terribly wrong with it as far as a major flaw. I mean, I guess you can say what's up with the A1, but you have a 50, 60, 70, 80% chance of decreased accuracy. It's not the worst buff, but it's pretty ideal if you are facing bosses and you do want to try and resist them. As far as waves go, it's probably not going to be as efficient. And then as if that wasn't enough, we have a 35% HP in Dungeons aura. Now, could I say this is a flaw? Sure. However, Dungeons, it's really looking like Dungeons is going to be the forte of a champion like this, based on how many players I've seen that do struggle with the waves in Dungeons when they're trying to get to their highest farming potential. So if this were in all battles, of course it would be much better, but the kit's so strong, I was kind of looking for a downside, and if I had to say, is there a downside, it would be this aura, which is kind of the best of both worlds. If you want something to be wrong with the champion, you want it to be the aura. So now let's take a look at the champion itself. He looks cool, right? So this champion looks really good. What did I do for artifacts? I went with a pure tank build on this guy. I used the new Defiant set because taking less AoE damage definitely helps when applying ally protection. The ally protection transfer damage isn't AoE damage, but the initial AoE hit, if it does hit every single champion, it's going to lessen the blow for sure. Having this on a 2 set instead of Stalwart is very strong as well. We went with Resilience gear and then finally Immortal gear. And one thing to note, 22,000 base health pretty reasonable. 1200 base defense, 1250 base defense on top of that. Very reasonable. Again, 99 speed, doesn't matter. One thing I want to know about speed if you get this champion, the speed I have here is wrong, right? Why is the speed wrong? Does anybody know? Pause the video and comment. Don't cheat. I'm about to tell you, so don't cheat. Okay. What you want to do with a champion like this, since they give ally protection and they place a sleep, you want them to go last in your team. You want them to be able to sleep the targets right before they get a turn, and you want to be able to place ally protection so it lasts on the champions you're protecting for as long as possible. So with that being said, did I overshoot this with 201 speed? Yes and no. If I'm doing content where the champions are 200 speed, then this is good. So ideally you want to be slightly faster than the enemy waves you're doing, which makes it so you can build something like HP percent boots. Not needing speed boots on a champion this strong is kind of crazy if you think about it, right? Not only is the kit insane, you don't have to build speed like you do for 99% of the other champions in this game. And then as far as masteries, it's kind of up to you guys. You can go for War Master for more damage. If you want to capitalize on the sleep, you can go for Fearsome Presence. If you're struggling with accuracy, go ahead and take Eagle Eye. Survivability wise, you can go for more health. You can go for, probably wouldn't take Bulwark, Iron Skin for more defense. There's just so many options you can do. You're going to have to see which content you want to use this champion for, since this guy's going to be such a Swiss Army knife for where you can use him. Every single dungeon, Doom Tower, there's just so much potential for a champion like this. So use the mastery tree to, once you've built the champion, then go to the masteries and say, okay, do I need more accuracy, HP, defense, overall damage, which is why you would take War Master here, and then kind of go from there and see where you're at. The last thing I do want to do here is go into the campaign and let's have a look at what the animation of this guy look like, just in case they're looking really, really solid. So let's go ahead and find him. Here he is. Let's start it up. We will in fact start with the A1. So I do like how he's kind of like floating above ground here. Let's start with the A2 and see what we're looking like. Okay, tons of spiders, huge AoE, love it. This is going to be very simple. Yeah, I wasn't expecting much from that. Now let's use the A1. Okay, so spider guy. This is like really cool toxic poison spider. I love that effect. Very unique for sure. I don't think we have anything in the game currently like that. Even the A1's kind of cool to watch. It's like this spew of toxic venom going out on everybody. And now we have, this kind of reminds me of Diablo 3 if you've ever played it. This really cool spider effect here. So listen, art team, once again, fantastic job. Animations look cool. Champion looks awesome. Kit, fantastic. So really happy there wasn't just another filler legendary added this time around for the new legendary champions. So that's going to conclude this video. What kind of champions would you pair with this guy? I'm curious as to your feedback here. I haven't tested him much on the test server himself. I'm sure I can come up with some pretty cool comps for this, but you guys, of course, being in the progression mode, which is much different than my account, will have an easier time thinking of teams and letting me know in the comments for sure. So as always, if you enjoy this content, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I will see you all in the next upload.